The dust has settled on yet another season of Doctor Who.
Ripperoni.
Rip the season. It has ended. So we're here to do a end of season, sort of look back. We wanted to have a little bit of time between the finale and doing this because obviously we were a bit salty after the finale. And I think if you go back and listen to our reviews of the sort of single episodes throughout the season, we were pretty positive. So we didn't want the finale to like weigh down our thoughts.
Salty doesn't cover it, Aiden.
No, it doesn't.
This is a new low. This is I'm mentally taking myself away from Doctor Who in the future for future episodes if they exist.
Yeah, I feel relatively detached by it. Not intentionally. I just feel like I am. But yeah, so have our opinions changed on the episodes? We're going to go through week by week, episode by episode, talk about the ratings we gave them and see if that sort of stacks up.
That's what we're here to find out, Aiden.
Yeah, we are. It should be a fun episode. Also, on the top of the show, I wanted to say at the start of our last podcast where we were talking about the war between the land and the sea, we said, welcome to the last little mini pod for a while.
Yes.
Some people online, and I totally understand, especially if you're new to us, interpreted that as this is our last little podcast until the next season of Doctor Who. I think I saw like a few comments about that.
People are scared that we're leaving, Aiden.
Yes. No, here to say we're going to go back to our usual format, which is 1 hour long episode a week.
Yeah.
We just were upping the episodes whilst we had a new season. There was so much to talk about, things like that. And now we'll go back to once a week until maybe when the war between lands and the sea comes back, we'll do 2 or 3 again.
This October.
Possibly this October, possibly next year. No one knows.
Who knows?
But we'll be jumping into some classic Who and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, we still got some Sarah Jane to review. We got tons of classic.
We've been doing some rankings.
Yeah, and rankings are really fun. And also we've been enjoying going back and revisiting like older episodes as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like episodes from like New Who.
Ones that we've already reviewed.
Yeah. Like re-review them, the re-review.
But you're right, it is fun to do that.
Yeah, and there's one more season of Torchwood we need to get through. We
do, yeah. But on that note, I think maybe we should just announce that we will have a little break from the podcast coming up.
Yeah.
So immediately contradicting what I just said, we are going to be podding until the end of June, and then we're going to take July off.
Possibly. I might still chuck something up on the channel each week just to keep people fed.
Yeah, like some kind of video or something. But
I don't know what that is yet, or if I'll do it.
The podcast itself will be on like pause. So if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, we'll have a month without uploads. But Connor might have a little video or a vlog or a live stream.
Hi everybody, it's me with a little cameo from Aiden, maybe from wherever he is in the world.
Yeah, I'm going to Europe, which will be really nice.
I'm in a bloody wine field.
I am.
You going to Italy?
I am. I've got a wine tour booked in Tuscany, mate.
Hey,
traveling around Tuscany drinking wine.
I am in Italy. Yeah, do that.
So I'll be in Europe for almost a month, and we'll come back. And also on that note, June will be the last month of us filming in this studio.
That is true. I think that's kind of announced, but kind of not. Because you said you've moved, but I don't know if people knew we would be moving studios as well. So that's announced now. Yeah, because kind of long story short, essentially this studio is at my parents' house where I grew up. I've been doing this in my mum's basement. It's not my mum's basement. It's a lovely office space. There's a gym right there.
Yeah, it's connected to a gym. It's a lovely space.
It is lovely.
But I've moved into my own place now, and I'm setting up the studio over there. So hopefully, when I get back from Europe, should be all good to go for us to do it over there.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a new look. It'll be like we've got a month off, a chance for everyone to refresh. Yeah. And then it'll be like it'll be like season 2 of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like a whole new look.
Well, tomorrow is the day of uploading this video is 5 years of doing the podcast.
Happy 5-year anniversary.
So 5 years of doing the podcast. Can you believe that? 5 years.
Should have brought a cake.
Yeah, I think we say it every year. It's like, happy birthday, and we always forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years. That's pretty insane.
It is.
5 years?
Yeah. Well, maybe we can talk about that after the theme tune, but you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 50Doctor, on TikTok at 50Doctor Who. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you'd like to give back to the show after a crazy 2 months of content, we've been pounding the pavement of making content. You can give a little bit to us down the coffee in the Ko-fi below if you want to buy us a pint or a coffee or something like that.
And there's the thanks button.
And there's the thanks button, which no one uses.
Jeremy used it.
Did he?
Yeah, you don't see it?
Yeah, this is why Jeremy's the GOAT.
50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50% podcast.
So 5 years of the pod, Connor. Any lessons learned, any highlights, any standout moments?
Oh, no, really. I don't know.
Bit shit, innit?
I didn't think we'd be doing it for this long. That's for certain.
Yeah, you say that often and it hurts me.
No, I don't mean it like that. I think when we first started doing the show, I've told the story 1,000 times. I won't bore everybody, but I wasn't doing any YouTube stuff anymore. I'd kind of given up. I was like, fuck this, I'm out. And then you suggested doing the podcast, and I was convinced it would be like a colossal failure.
Yeah, not far from it.
I don't know about that, Aiden. We've done some pretty cool stuff.
We have done some cool stuff.
We've done some pretty cool shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I feel just very blessed. It's a great thing to do. It's been great for my psyche and my it scratched that creative itch, you know.
I think
lots happened over the 5 years though.
Two of the biggest takeaways for me will be I don't think I would be this into Doctor Who still if I didn't have this podcast that keeps me in the loop.
That's facts, yeah.
Because we talk about the animations, the Blu-rays, like all this stuff that keeps coming out when the show's off air.
Presents.
And that keeps us interested, but I feel like I would not be anywhere near interested in that stuff if I wasn't active in like the community, talking with you guys online, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm thankful for. Maybe I shouldn't be thankful for because maybe I'd be not as depressed after that finale if I wasn't doing this podcast. But the other thing is definitely the biggest highlight has been like hanging out with you and like the Aussie YouTube gang over East with Josh and Crispy, and we've just had so much fun doing that. So
yeah, it's weird whenever these like big milestones come up. I never really know what to say other than just like thanks. Like I guess like in my head I would have like a big thing to say, but there's nothing really to say other than just like thank you for just supporting us and
of course
giving us a place to go. And also I should say this show wouldn't exist without Aiden. Like he does all the behind the scenes stuff and he uploads every episode and edits every episode, puts it on Spotify. Generally would not exist if he wasn't here. And I mean that. So if there's anyone you should thank, it's Aiden. So I will.
Oh, thank you. No, but at the same time, it takes two people to make a pod. So, and I think didn't our very first guest
been on for a while?
Didn't you get?
Who was that then?
I cannot remember.
First guest ever?
I think Josh Nez, maybe, or Crispy. I think you recruited both of our first little YouTube guests. So maybe we have you to thank for those great connections.
I'm good at pitching and DMing.
There you go.
I think.
Yeah. After a couple beers. That was the thing. You'd have a few beers and then you DM.
Yeah. My advice to any YouTuber out there is like, no matter how big another creator is, like just give it a shot because I think a big limitation is that sometimes people think that like, oh, if you're small, big creators won't want to come on and but it's like there are tons of big YouTubers out there who like love Doctor Who and just don't have time to talk about it on their like main channels and stuff. And you know, sometimes it falls through. I was trying to get Quentin Reviews on for a while. We were talking in the DMs. That fell through a little bit. But, you know, it's like stuff like that. Like he's got like nearly 1 million subscribers and we were like talking in the DMs about potentially coming on this show. And we have like, back at that day, we had like 1,200 subscribers. So I think that would just be my advice if you're trying to, you know, just reach out because like, I think if your content's good, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of people don't have like a stick up their ass where it's like, oh, I have this many subs and you have so little. I can't even fathom coming on your little show. That's the great thing about Doctor Who, I think, is that like people just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I know we do.
I heard this great, slightly different topic. I heard this great interview yesterday with actually a footy commentator, right?
Was it BT?
It wasn't BT, but it was a BT-esque, one of the old fossils. And they were interviewing him and he was saying that they were saying like, oh, you know, like some people hate you, some people really like you. And he said, yeah, well, I think that is, if you are doing your job right, like 50% of people will like you and 50% of people hate you. And I just thought like, oh, that sort of rings true for a place where I think we sort of have our pod at the moment where I think I've learned over the last 5 years to really not give a fuck about what other people think to an extent. Like I am more than happy now to share my opinion without being worried. Whereas back in the day, I was like, oh, I don't want to be too negative on the show because I don't want to upset people. I don't want to make this like slightly edgy joke in case it upsets people or whatever. Whereas now I'm like, I know I'm going into everything with the right intentions, and you do have to keep in mind that people creatively have feelings, and so you don't want to like vilify them or say anything nasty because some people do, especially with like Russell and with Chibnall, people say awful things online.
Oh, definitely.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I feel like you and I have sort of hit a balance now where we are critiquing the show, and we will always be honest. And I feel like that's held us in good stead across this latest season.
A few of my jokes have been cut.
You're better now, but there was like a year. I don't know what was going on in your brain, but every week I was having to cut something from Con. But also I think, again, that was for me.
Right.
Some parts I made a mistake of cutting some of those jokes where it's like I was overthinking the jokes you were making. Because I don't know. That's something like I've learned to let loose a little bit with
and we only ever had one argument.
We did have one argument on air, but it got cut.
It was the Series 6 ranking video.
Yeah, if you want to watch just an uncomfortable episode of the podcast, check out the Series 6 ranking video. There's about 20 minutes of me and Connor just clearly getting on each other's nerves.
Yeah, I was pushing it though. I was just pushing your
You could tell
so
that
much.
I was wound up when we started, and you just kept pushing.
I was just tired and that's the only time we've ever, and it wasn't heated, I don't think. That's the only time we've ever had an
I did
argument.
punch you, to be fair.
That was behind the scenes.
Yeah, and then you whipped out a gun.
And said, put him up, boss.
Put him up.
Put him up.
The boss.
The boss. Yeah, the boss says hi, by the way. Just thank you, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for 5 years.
It's been a really fun ride.
5 lovely years.
It's half a decade.
Oh, that makes me... That's like, if we live to 100, which we won't, that's 5% of our lives.
Yeah. We must have... God, if you would have counted all the episodes together, we must have been doing this for like thousands. There must be thousands of hours of us talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
no,
thousands.
not thousands.
Yeah.
Because this is episode 306, maybe?
Thousands of minutes?
Minutes. Yeah, this is episode 306.
Hundreds of hours.
We also hit episode 300 during the new season, so...
all these accolades, and it's like...
Yeah, lots going on. That's enough tooting our own horn, I think, Connor. We should get into talking about Doctor Who Season 2, I think. Mm-hmm. General feeling now. We've had a week, like I said, to stew on the finale. Mm-hmm. How are we feeling now? A little bit better, maybe?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm still this.
That isn't even...
Yeah, okay. That isn't even funny. Oh, no, you're looking for...
Sack Russell T Davies.
Nice.
Why don't we fuck that up?
Doing this for 5 years and still can't use the roadcaster.
God damn it! Yeah, that's how I feel. I think he should leave. What about you, Aiden?
I'm very torn. I need to see what happens, I guess. Because I'm undecided on whether he should leave or not. If he stays for a 3rd season, I would be interested in him staying for a 3rd season to see if there is a response, because all of these seasons, like I said a few weeks ago, these first 2 seasons were made prior to season 1 airing. So he's not sort of had, like, this has kind of just been one season, if you know what I mean. Like, he's not had the way that series 12 was perhaps a response by Chibnall to series 11 and
sure.
Same with Flux to 12.
Yeah, definitely.
And with The War Between being like a darker, grittier show that looks like it could be more in line with what we're maybe after for a part of Doctor Who, I would be interested to see what that would look like. And I also don't really want another showrunner to have to do some kind of explanation as to what's happened with Billy.
Yeah, I think would just be so strange.
I think that's Russell's things to fix up.
There must be at least he must get at least like maybe a free specials thing and then maybe move on, because I don't see how you can't just leave that and then just get someone else to come in to try and explain that.
I think that's perhaps the best outcome for me because I think we've seen enough of this era now to know that it's not for you and I. It is for some people, but I think there is large story beats that I'm not for. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be, if he was like, okay, we're going to do 3 specials, or even if he was just like, we're going to do a 2-part Christmas New Year special next year that will do Billy's story and then we're done. I would be more than happy, and then a new showrunner can come in. And it's dumb because we're always talking about renewing the show, and it needs we're like, fire Moffat, fire Chibnall, fire Russell. But I don't think I've ever been this frustrated at the direction of the show, because with Moffat, it never really felt like he was shitting on the lore. It just, we were a bit young at the time, and I think didn't get the goofiness and the sense of humor that now I love when I watch Moffat's era. But it never felt like he was obliterating the canon. And then Chibnall, I was always middle on Chibs. I thought it was never as good, never as bad as people were saying. And the Timeless Child stuff did irk me a little bit. I was always saying, let's see where he takes it. Didn't take it anywhere, really.
Yeah.
But I I don't think he was destroying some characters the way that Russell has, because one of the biggest things that frustrates me about the finale is now, at least the Rani got some screen time and we got to see a little bit of her character. But Omega, the big return of Omega was just big CGI creature for 2 minutes on screen, easily defeated. Like, if you want to bring Omega back in the future now, there's like this weird, like, I don't know, it's just a bit tainted now. So that's the thing that frustrates me about this new era.
Yeah. Especially when, like, I think people like Russell would know more than anybody is that, like, the canon and continuity for these shows is just so important to the fans. And I think when you mess with that, it just, like, my biggest problem at the moment is just, like, I've just felt like Regeneration has become a bit of a joke with, like, say, Bi-Generation, I even said back in the day I didn't like the Tennant returning was the 14th Doctor. I thought that was just kind of silly. I would have liked him to be a bit of a fugitive or war doctor and not necessarily count as like a number.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't like that. And then now that's going to happen with Billy. Potentially true. I guess we don't necessarily know.
Yeah. What would you call the 10th Doctor? Would he be the 10.2 Doctor? 10 point, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, the Bi-Generation Doctor or something like that. Well, no, he didn't even Bi-Generate.
No, the Alan Z.
The Alan Z doc.
Yeah.
It's just to me, it just, like, you know, it's like, it kind of, it reeks of desperation because, you know, it's like when a show's not doing good, like viewing figure wise, it's like, let's try and do something wacky with the canon, you know? And I think that's why I dislike the Timeless Child storyline so much, because, like, what I loved about the Doctor is that, like, there was this mystery with them. You know this character so well, but there's also so much about their past that you don't know. Then when Russell just comes in, and I think I would say done it worse than Chibnall, even with things like there's that beautiful scene in Fear Her when the Doctor says I was a dad once, and there's that scene in The Doctor's Daughter when he says I've had kids and stuff, and then in the same show then retcon it when David Tennant comes back, and, you know, and then with Ncuti saying that he hasn't had kids yet. To me, it's like Doctor Who canon. It's like the Bible for me, you know? It's like what I follow. It's the law of this universe. And when you start messing with stuff like that, that's when I start to get detached from the character and from the show.
For sure, when it just doesn't really make sense.
No.
I also read something else about the original ending that made me go, oh, I'm kind of also glad we didn't get that ending.
Okay, yeah.
So apparently Susan, we discussed this a couple of weeks ago on the pod, but the original ending was a dance party with the Doc, Ruby, Sunday,
Mayday,
Belinda, all the unit gang and things were there, I think. And then it, like, pulls out and Susan's watching on. But I also read another thing that she was meant to be holding Poppy's hand.
Oh my Lord.
And then she says, "Come on, mother," or something like that.
What the fuck?
So that would have, like, solidified Poppy as mum. Take that with a grain of salt. It's obviously just like a leaked ending. We don't know for sure what
People
were
theorizing that.
Yeah. So, and I'm kind of glad they didn't shaft that Caroline Ford's character. But that's another thing now. It does feel like Susan, same argument with Omega. It feels like Susan's character return is now, like, tainted in this just, like, weird.
What was the point though?
Thing.
It doesn't.
Well, I'm sure
must have been a series 3 arc that was originally going to be there.
She'll have to come back with Billy, but it just feels so weird. And we've gone into detail with that this kind of half done era with, like, so many plot points that feel undone. I saw a great thing online. Was it Josh that maybe said it? I don't know. I saw someone online be like, it's as though Matt regenerated before getting to Trenzalore.
Yeah.
You know? Or like Jodie regenerating without some form of conclusion to the Timeless Child arc, like getting the Fob Watch back.
Sure. Yeah, it does feel weird that potentially Billy Piper will be the first potential Doc to meet Susan again. That to me is just such a ridiculous sentence.
Yeah.
That I never thought would ever happen. And I did see, like, the Choose Regeneration, like, you know, I guess it did generate content because it got like 30 million views on, like, Twitter and stuff. But it's like, People are watching it, sure, but it's like people are just, like, laughing at it. They're not thinking this is good.
I don't really trust Twitter views because that's just people just scrolling.
That's true as well.
I don't really give a shit about Twitter
I always
views.
wonder how that works, if you have to watch it for a certain amount of seconds for it to count as a view, or if it just...
Maybe like 5-10 seconds or something like that.
Timeline and stuff, yeah. I don't know, but, you know, I don't know. It's funny. People are like, you know, theorizing about like other spin-offs and stuff. Like they're theorizing that war between land and sea could be like, it's just like the war between, and there could be like other categories coming.
I saw like that
spin-offs, but I'm like, hang on a minute, we haven't even got a series 3 yet. Can we just focus on getting the main show? Back.
Yep.
What a mess. What a mess.
It's a bit of a mess, but it hasn't been like that the whole season. So I reckon we should go back to perhaps Christmas Day.
We're jumping back in the TARDIS.
Let's jump back to the TARDIS to Christmas Day 2024.
Pulling the lever.
To discuss the Christmas special that sort of didn't really start this season, but
it all off.
That's how we like to categorize it, the same way the Blu-rays do. So, Joy to the World, Connor, how do you feel about this episode 6 months on?
I just think it's so shit. I hate it. It's so bland and boring.
Really?
And after having Stephen Moffat come back for Boom, an episode which I love, I think this is just so standard and boring. It's white bread. It has that fantastic second act, and I love that Anita came back in the final because I think she's great, and I really would have loved to see her as like a full-time, you know, it's not going to happen now, but like a full-time Series 3 companion. I would have loved that. But I'm just not there for it. I've watched it twice. I don't have any need to watch it again. I think Joy as a character is just super annoying and boring.
Yeah.
I hate the threat. It's like dinosaurs and Silurians. I'm not here for it. And I think it had some of the right pieces. The whole time hotel thing was pretty cool, and the idea that it came back in the final, that's some good continuity I can get behind. But really, for me, just a miss. It's not anything I ever want to go back and revisit. What about you?
Well, you gave it a 5 on the initial
I'll
watch.
stand by that.
I gave it a 6.5,
Wow.
which I'll also stand by. And I feel like I actually enjoyed this episode. Like, it is dumb, and there is so much stuff. Like, I find Joy's character just pretty relevant to the story. I think it's ridiculous the way she becomes a star at the end. I think...
returns.
But I also think the Bethlehem stuff is so ridiculous that I'm like cackling. And I think it's so just ridiculous, and I'm on board for it. Like, there's so much... Moffat does this stuff where it's just so silly. And that's something I didn't get watching his era as a kid. But now as an adult watching it, I'm like, that's just insane. And I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like, it's not offensive. It doesn't kill the canon. It just makes you sometimes roll your eyes, but sometimes makes you cackle.
Year 0001.
And the biggest takeaway for me from the episode, both as writing for the character and performance for the 15th Doctor, I think it's, for me, the best, Ncudi's best episode in terms of like just the character being the character. Like, he's got better scenes, better times where he perhaps breaks down, or better standout scenes, because there is no standout scene in that episode from him. But in terms of a run of the mill story, there's no moments for me. We were talking about in Wish World, or was it the finale? I can't remember.
Reality War?
It's in the Reality War.
Yeah.
There's a moment where he turns around and just like barks at someone.
Yeah, you know, that would be Anita.
And he barks at Anita for like kind of no reason, and it felt so out of character for me.
She's real.
And there's times where I think the writing would make him push that emotion too far, and sometimes I feel like Ncudi would push the emotion too far. And I just think that Joy to the World just has this perfect balance, and I love the way that Moffat writes the Doctor.
Yeah, me too. I think now with hindsight, I think Moffat writes the Doctor the best.
Yeah, I agree.
I really love how he does it.
I agree.
Please come back.
Please come back.
Moffat.
Well, that is probably the sad thing, that if Russell goes, we probably won't get another Moffat script again.
Moffat 2?
Yeah. I also love the start of Joy to the World. I really love the first 15 minutes. I really love it. I think it's so like him with the Doctor with, is it Joel Fry?
Yeah.
In that beautiful set.
Trevor.
Trevor.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fun, and I love their little chemistry. I wish he was in it more.
Rip the goat, he dies.
Rip the goat. I don't know. Like, I genuinely will watch this episode again. I think it's fun. I prefer this over Ruby Road.
Okay.
I really do.
I think there's a little bit of weird nostalgia for Ruby Road for me. It was just the start of something new, and you felt like, oh, this is going to be the beginning of something massive.
Yeah. I liked Ruby Road at the time. We both gave it a 7.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the way that episode just like dwindles out, because I know they had to change the ending because of like, I think Disney or budget or something like that. and it just gets like really boring for me. And I have seen it a few times now, so maybe that's the reason. But yeah, Joy to the World's fun.
There ain't no Ruby here and there ever was.
Let's jump. Oh, Carla's the first of Carla's evil.
Who? What? Get out of my house.
I would never adopt a child.
It's just good money.
Yeah. Let's jump ahead to April this year.
All right, ready? Boom! Pull the lever.
Push the button.
Let me
We're going
know.
to jump ahead to April this year, talking about the Robot Revolution, the premiere of Series 2.
Owl.
Now, I watched this a bit drunk after going on a wine tour. Mm-hmm. And we both gave it a 5.
You throw bottles at the screen?
This is for me what Joy to the World is for you.
Yeah.
I don't really ever. I will watch it again, especially when I get the steelbook. But I don't ever really want to watch this again because I'm just so disinterested in it visually. I think the character work is piss poor. I just don't like it at all. I think the ending twist is cringe. Yeah. I don't mind the idea of like an incel villain. Like that's fine. But I just think the way it's executed is just really cringy. Planet of the Incels.
How the incels. Yeah, that is a cringe line. But I can see Doctor Who pulling it off like okay. I think my biggest disappointment for me was having Peter Hall back and it being so standard, but he really redeemed himself with Lucky Day.
I totally agree.
But that was just so strange to me. Just visually it looking so standard.
Yeah, it looked pretty poor. And I didn't like, I know they were going for like a very, at least I assume they were going for a very like 70s, 80s thing where like when people get shot and they'd like freeze frame and stuff like that. But I just thought it looked a bit cringe. I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
It's like a cool idea, but for like a big budget premiere, it just didn't scratch that itch for me.
Yeah, I was shocked when I went on Twitter after the episode and everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just like a bad opener. I liked how they started with Belinda, but then that whole characterization just disappears and fizzes out by the end of the series. Some cool concepts in there, which never really go anywhere. And, you know, we're kind of just thrown into this, adventure, and I never really got around it. I just didn't care enough. I kept thinking like, let's just get to next week.
Yeah.
It was just such a nothing burger for me.
It was, and it's so like a story we've seen before.
I know,
I like Polish. That's the highlight.
Yeah, Polish is cool.
Polish.
And there's one visually pleasing scene at the end when the two certificates touch and stuff, and I think that's probably the only scene where Peter like shines.
Yeah, and the production design of that like kind of, was it like 50s or something?
Kind of
50s space.
Yeah,
was really interesting.
Yeah,
I did like that as a choice. And I understand that maybe that's where the freeze frame bits of direction came from, because it is maybe the filmmaking of that era or something like that. But I just thought it looked a little bit too gimmicky for me.
I think we needed a better episode to start off the season. And I again, like, I know people stand by like the first like 3 episodes or the first 4 episodes as being like really gold standard. But for me, it just didn't hit.
Nah, neither.
And again, it's like the biggest thing for me is like, do I really even want to rewatch this episode ever again? Probably not.
No, I really don't care for it.
Only watched it twice, and that was for the podcast. I think I enjoyed a rewatch. I found it a little bit rewarding with the whole like, is it like the 9th word thing?
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit clever and interesting. And
I thought it was dumb.
Although very silly and makes no sense. Why do the robots not?
Because someone told us in the comments that because Al resets or something at every 9th word. Oh, okay. Which again, yes, it's an explanation, but it's very convenient.
But why though? That doesn't make, but then why does Al do it?
Yeah, it's very...
Al's Toy Barn?
I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
I have to drive all the way to work on a Saturday.
We obviously still have that. We have that excellent ending shot as we pull up from the TARDIS.
You guys are so horrible.
And the taxis floating in space, the pyramids.
You see the taxi at the end of Wishworld.
God, that was so dumb. Well, from a pretty mid to poor episode to an episode that at the time we both really liked.
Ready? Pulling the lever. We're going to Miami, 1952.
Let's talk about Lux. I gave it an 8. You gave it a 9. What do you think about this one now, Connor?
Absolutely bloody gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a good episode, isn't it?
I just love it, man. This era is just full of... There's always one episode per series and one in the 60th specials that just like... stands out to me. and they're all been written by Russell.
Yeah.
And it just shows me that he can still write Doctor Who that I will remember forever and love forever. And then he can also do some episodes that will potentially ruin the show forever. But with something like Wild Blue Yonder and 73 Yards, and now with Series 2 with Lux, just an episode for me that was the perfect use of the Disney budget. The Doctor and Belinda are still great in it. Fantastic villain. Just great side characters, simple storyline. And for me, and I, surprisingly, the whole like fan scene, it seems like something that would definitely irk me. And I had heard rumors and rustlings about it. A scene that should have really pissed me off. I think Russell played it off really well, and I think I liked it more than you.
Yeah.
But I was slapping my knee. I was enjoying it. I really like the third act. I think it's actually so beautiful with Murray Score at the end when Mr. Ring-a-Ding becomes light.
He transcends.
I am everything and I am nothing. And Murray's score is just so beautiful. I can't help but get a little bit teary-eyed when I watch it.
Mr. Ring-a-Ding.
I just find it so funny. And then the final line from Mrs. Flood that like the show like ends.
Limited run.
Yeah, and now it kind of is.
2 seasons and a spin-off only.
Yeah, and that it kind of was right. I mean, I've talked to death about this episode, but I think I've watched it like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, okay.
It's the one episode from season 2 that I showed my family.
Yeah, right. They like it.
And they loved it.
Yeah, cool.
And I never showed them anything else.
I love 95% of this episode.
95.
But that fan scene just kills me. I think it's so... I don't like it. And I think it's...
I cheered?
Slightly... I think it's cringe because it's so over-emotional and the dialogue's over the nose. It's not that this fan thing couldn't work. I just think that the dialogue is so on the nose about like the whole themes of like, we're getting through this together, and then Belinda brings that back in the final scene as well. And I think that combined with the Amy's music, it just makes it so over-emotional for like these characters.
And it's very loud as well.
It is.
Murray plays his music a bit too loud. It happens in Reality War as well, where the music just blasts through your TV.
Yeah, a bit of subtlety, you know. Yeah, I'm ready for Murray to go as well, I'm not going to lie. But yes, I thought it was way too over-emotional because we don't care about those side characters, those...
who never returned, by the way.
Yeah, we don't care about the Doctor Who fans in it. And the music was too much for it. So I just thought that was a bit silly. But outside... Oh, and it ruins the momentum, I feel. It ruined...
Yeah, you were saying that,
them sneaking out of the camera, the film reel. But outside of that, I think it's so gorgeously done by our Aussie director. It looks fantastic. I think Belinda and the Doc are great in it. And the side characters within the story, like the guy that runs the cinema.
Yeah, Reginald Pye.
Reginald Pye, I thought he was cool and had a great little story.
Yeah, they keep it simple, I think.
It
wasn't overcomplicated. And
there's good visuals there to explain it as well. A bit of show don't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for Lux. I like it a lot.
I would love to go to that theatre one day and just check it out.
It's in Cardiff.
Yeah. Cardiff.
Yeah. Also, like if you watch Unleashed, it was pissing with rain when they shot it.
There was like a bad storm coming through.
And now you can when you watch the clip back, you can see how windy it is. Yeah. But there's no wind in like the sound design or anything because they needed that like summer Miami vibe.
Yeah.
But you could tell it's so windy. But they graded it and lit it really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just great vibes watching that episode.
Yeah, great vibes.
Immediately rewatched it after I watched it like 3 times in the same day.
Yeah.
3.5 times.
God damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, I just instantly loved it.
Yeah. Well, can you cue up a specific soundbite for the next episode that we're about to talk about, Connor? Definitely. Because I think we should talk about The Well.
To midnight. Boom.
Wow.
The Well. An episode
Wow.
that everyone bloody loved. I gave it an 8 and you gave it a 6.5.
Yeah.
I think 8 was maybe slightly too kind to it. I think this one maybe should be more like a 7 because there's some great moments of tension. But I also just think it's just ridiculous and not in the good George of the World way. The Midnight Creature throwing monsters around. I don't know how people find that scary. I think it's so goofy. And also just not what the Midnight Monster does. I was trying to explain it to like one of my friends who is a Doctor Who fan that
fell off.
He watched all of season 1 but never came back after that.
Christ. Just what you want to hear.
And he was like, oh, how was season 2? I was like talking about, and I told him it was a good like episodes 2 to 5. I enjoyed them. I think it's a really good run, the best run of single episodes we've had in a while. And I said, "Did you hear about the Midnight one?" And he said, "No, there's a Midnight Monster back." And he was like, "Tell me about that episode." So I was telling him about it. And as I was explaining it to him, he was like, this sounds ridiculous. Like, it's not the same monster. It doesn't do anything.
No.
Anything. And I'm open to like, the Weeping Angels start coming out of your screens and they add to the lore of that.
Image of an angel becomes an angel.
Yeah, and that stuff, it does slightly take away from the mystery, but it's still interesting and it still feels like the same creature. Versus the Midnight creature that, other than the fact that it's an episode with people turning on each other and tension and lots of arguing, the actual monster itself does nothing that means it's the same monster as back then.
Yeah.
I think that was one of those scenes within the episode, and especially when you look at it with the finale and all the generating content stuff that Russell likes to do. It's one of those things where Russell just thought, oh, similar vibes to Midnight. What if I make it the same creature? And we get this great scene where it all comes together and we'll make an excellent TikTok.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what he thought.
That's what it feels like to me.
I hate people who think this episode's a masterpiece.
You hate people?
I hate people who think it's a masterpiece.
You hate them?
Yes.
You hate people because they have an opinion?
Yes.
Oh my God, Connor.
And
now
you're
the villain.
6.5 was way too high that I gave it. I think I was falling under the pressure.
Really? 6.5? Yeah. Really?
I just don't like this episode. It never gelled with me.
Yeah.
And I don't like this idea of doing a sequel to Midnight. I think it was a bad idea. I didn't think it paid off well at all. I didn't like the entity. I didn't like seeing it. I know you didn't really see it, but you kind of see it.
Yeah, didn't need that.
Didn't like the extended information about it. I didn't like the side characters. It could have worked, I think, for me. But, after rewatching Midnight that week, to me, it was just like, why do a sequel? Why even do it? But, honestly, though, it seems like it did pay off because I seemed to be the only person who didn't like it. It was one of those, it was like I got Dot and Bubble fever because it was like I went to rewatch the episode and in my head the whole time it's like, why don't you like this? Everyone loves this. Why don't you like this? And I on my second watch I enjoyed it a bit more. But I just I just didn't vibe with it. I can see why people like it, but not me. It was co-written, and I believe that the original writer, she had written a script, and classic Russell was like, wouldn't it be fantastic if we made it the Midnight entity? And I'm just kind of sat there like, I don't think that's a good idea at all. It's just some things just shouldn't be touched. I think it'd be like doing a sequel to Rulers of Mars. I think that would just be a bad idea.
Yeah.
And so please don't do that either.
One of the big things that I said in my review that I think really stands out as to why this episode doesn't work for me and why people that give this a 10 out of 10 and say it's on the same level as Midnight, I don't understand, because it's like when in Midnight, like I said, the only similarity between the episodes is that everyone starts turning on each other and argues, but those characters in Midnight at the start all seem like normal people, and they are normal people, and it's showing how humans turn on each other and they're multi-layered.
When the idea of dying comes up, it's like, I can't die and I will sacrifice you so I will live.
And just what humans do when they're terrified, that kind of thing. But when it comes to the well, yes, you have people arguing and talking about, and like people sort of killing people in a way with that sergeant guy. But
slow horses, man.
Mr. Slow Horses.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same effect because he's just a dickhead from the start.
Yeah.
He's not a layered character. He's just a bad guy. He just comes off bad. And that, I think, sort of sums up a lot of this era. People are either really good or really bad. And we said that after season 1. Like, Carla is the perfect mum. Ruby's the perfect...
Until she's not.
Ruby's the perfect daughter and friend of the Doctor. The Doctor is the perfect human with the best values in the world. And yes, I know in an Interstellar Song Contest, that clearly contradicts that a little bit, but it all just is too squeaky clean. There's no room for what actual humanity is to me.
To give it credit, though, I think this was the last episode where Belinda was on form.
Oh, she was brilliant. Yes, we cannot say that enough. She was brilliant.
This was kind of the end of that
yes
kind of arc for her.
Yeah.
and I don't. Yeah. It just if I was like a producer and Russell came up to me and said I'm going to do this, I would just say I don't think that's a good idea. That would be my first opinion on it.
Generates content though, doesn't it?
That's not why I'm here, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe the best way to generate content is when you're not trying to generate content.
True. Well, that's the thing. It's like those reveals of like Yana and things like that. They still post them on YouTube, and I'm sure. I mean, they're 20 years old now, so they won't do big figures. But like those reveals were iconic, and they were just part of the story. It didn't feel like the story was built around having these big reveals. It just felt like they were part of this story and were so intertwined with the Doctor's character journey, which, this season doesn't have so much.
Well, as well, Doctor Who fan was saying, 91, was saying as well, like, a lot of stuff also, I think, for me, was just unintentionally spoiled, because I went into the episode knowing it was going to be that.
Yeah.
So when the reveals happened, it was more of just okay, at least the reveal's out the way now, and I was like, maybe we can get moving on with the story. I feel like the story just went in circles a bit too much for me. And I guess it continues because it ends with the entity kind of out there now. It's just, I don't really want them to continue. I know people were like, they should do like a third episode. It's like, that wouldn't really interest me personally.
Nah, neither. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's a bit overrated, but it's fine. I enjoy the tension at parts, and I think the production line's great, and the performances are really solid.
And what is the episode name, Aiden?
Wow.
Thank you. Well, all right. Well, let's jump.
Where are we going,
ahead.
Aiden? The TARDIS.
Time to move to
New Year's Day 2007.
That's it. Thank you, Connor. With Lucky Day. Wow. How lucky were we to have Peter Hall back directing?
Yeah, boy.
And Pete McTighe. Petes.
The two Petes.
The Petes working together. Pete McTighe writing this episode. I understand that people have murky politics of this episode now, and that there is an argument out there that it's saying, why should you question these authorities? But I think it's so easy to get the wrong message from an episode, because that very clearly wasn't the message of the episode. They weren't saying, just listen to the government. They were saying, don't listen to these people that are just spreading lies. And not even that, more so just like how dangerous it is for people with these platforms to spread lies. These are unstable people.
How easy it is.
Yeah. And how easy it is for people to fall for it as well.
Yeah.
So that for me is very clearly the messaging. I can understand what the other thing that people got, but I think that's very clearly not the messaging. It's just a way that you can read it if you want to read it that way. I didn't get that from it. Neither. I didn't. Yeah. So especially considering we know that UNIT are to mostly the good guys as well. So
sure. Well, we've seen it multiple times. Saving the world.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't agree with that argument. So I think this is my favorite episode of the season.
Really?
I really do. Yeah.
Holy macaroni.
Because it was the first episode of this season where I didn't have a scene that made me roll my eyes. And it was just the first time I went from start to finish in an episode and was like, I'm just really into it.
Yeah.
Like I really am just into it. I thought Peter Hall's direction is superb.
So good, yeah.
And
so good.
I think Ruby, I've never understood those people after season 1 that were like, I didn't like Ruby's character. I understand she wasn't as fleshed out as she could be, but to me that mainly came down to her relationship with the Doctor.
Sack Ruby.
And even some people were talking about Millie's performance, and I was like, no, I think Millie's great. Like I think she's so good. And I felt like this episode came out and everyone was like, oh no, Millie's really good and Ruby's a really interesting character.
How can you say that after 73 yards? What are you, nuts?
Exactly, yeah.
Are you crazy?
So yeah, I love Ruby. I think she could easily carry her own show and I would be very interested in that show. But yeah, just a great episode. It made me really think. Like I really loved the messaging behind it. Loved the visuals. Even I loved the Shriek, the monster. Like it was a great monster of the week, but it was probably also the scariest monster of the season for me. Like the way that they bring in that sound design of that heartbeat and it gets up to Conrad's face, or even when Ruby's looking around in the pub, I love that setting as well. All that location filming. Yeah. It was just so well done for me. It really got me going.
Yeah, Ruby's standalone episodes are like a standout for this era for me. What a fun episode, honestly. And I think it's perfect for streaming as well. It really just fits on the platform.
Yeah.
It's just great.
On that, it feels like, because Russell, when he was starting this era, said he wanted Doctor Who to be like a Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And this is like the episode that you're like, oh, you kind of see that in terms of like vibe and tone. It doesn't feel too adult.
Sure.
It feels like an adult episode of a family show. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah. And I've always loved Love and Monsters for reasons that I've gotten into in the past. I know people just hate that episode, but I think this is like a Love and Monsters 2 almost, and I think it works like really well, even better than that, like with Love and Monsters and stuff. Generally, I mean, just really fun. Like it made me. I was watching this episode and I was like, I can get what they're trying to go for now with this Disney era of Doctor Who. I can see what they're going for. Torchwood feels darker. The lights are always dim.
Unit, you mean?
Unit, and they kind of are going for, I at least thought, like a bit of a. Unit seemed a bit more Torchwood-y in this episode, and it fully worked for me. I genuinely am a huge fan of this episode. You said it was your favorite this season. I think this probably would be my second or third favorite. And after kind of slagging off Pete a little bit of Pete McTee for coming back, after not being impressed with what he did in Jodie's era, I'll happily eat my hat. I thought he did a great job. It had everything that I thought a Doctor Who episode would need.
Yeah.
And it was just fun. It felt like Doctor Who. And I think the show is always very impressive. Like episodes like Blink have shown us this, when the Doctor is barely on screen and you're still loving the episode. I think that's when it shows that your script is working and it's really good.
Yeah.
And I thought Conrad as a villain and that twist was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really great.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like there's an argument there where, like, when the show doesn't go in the direction that we think it's going to go, that sometimes that makes fans frustrated, and that's why things like The Timeless Child and things like that don't work. But I feel like this episode, and another thing it has in common with 73 Yards, is both of them have like a midpoint twist that takes the episode into a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Both of them quite political.
Yeah.
They both start as like little country horrors.
Yeah.
And then turn into something political.
Yeah.
And I think both of them, when that twist happens, it's like on a knife's edge. And there's a minute, like in not so much as 73 Yards, but there was a minute in this episode where I went, like they're fake monsters, they're doing this. But then the episode is so good that it then convinces me. Like, it's like, no, this was the right decision.
It could have lost us easily, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that twist would either go one way or the other in terms of how you feel about it. And I instantly was like, no, this was the right decision. I love what they're trying to do with this episode.
Yeah, completely agree. And I'm very excited to see what he can do with War Between the Land and the Sea after seeing the writing in this season. Definitely excited for that. And yeah, I'll admit I was wrong. I really didn't think this episode was going to be good, and I was definitely proven wrong. And and like you said, I think Peter's direction was just so great and very fresh and very different. Beautiful, just a line in this episode always just stands out to me.
Yeah.
I can just see frames in my head how they look.
Have that wonderful little rotating
in the
scene
cafe
from the day to night stuff.
So good.
Amazing. Well, let's head to, was it 2019 Nigeria?
In Lagos.
For this story and the engine.
Kaboom!
An episode I gave an 8 and you gave an 8.75. I'm glad our ratings are that, because the biggest regret in a review for me this era was how negative we were, because we were nitpicking. It was one of those episodes that was really, really good, but there were so many just little things, like a line here. And that's why I say Lucky Day worked so well for me, because there wasn't those little things here or there that took me out. Whereas there is quite a few of those in the story of the engine. But I think the episode is so good. I think it's so interesting. And I feel like Lucky Day because I love it. And then the story in the engine for a different reason, being that I didn't appreciate it enough. And it's only retrospectively that I'm like, no, I really love the way that looked. I love the plot. And so those two episodes are definitely the ones that I'm most interested to rewatch. I really like it.
I cheered.
Yeah, I cheered. I clapped. I think it's cool. The Fugitive Doctor cameo, nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. But in contrast to what happens later in the season, I'll take it. It's fine.
Sure.
It just gets a bit exposition heavy at the end, doesn't it? That's the main gripe with it.
Definitely.
And it just kind of like bores you when they just start talking at you.
Yeah, no, and I think especially now that Ncuti is gone, I think this episode is even more special.
Yes.
And I think for me, the only downside is that, like you just said, I think it gets a little bit too like clever for its own good and tries to be very exposition heavy, and it's to the point where I'm just getting confused. And I've watched this episode like 3 or 4 times, I think.
Especially when there's more interesting ways to tell that exposition with the animation wall that they were using. I feel like that would be a more interesting way of showing, not telling, perhaps.
Yeah. Just the location of Lagos and, you know, Poppy's returns. Yeah, looking back now, it's a bit silly, but at the time I was like, oh, interesting, you know. And visually, I think it looks stunning. Those beautiful bright colors, the score. You know, I think the setting is great in the barbershop. I think it's just a great idea and very unique. The idea of telling a story to keep the engine going is just, it's one of those episodes of Doctor Who that I never thought I needed until I watched it. And again, I think this season has some really great, unique stories that unfortunately now are getting a little bit like, you know, pushed onto the covers a little bit because of how the season ended. Yeah. But, you know, I think a thing that Russell did as well is like pick some very good guest writers this season to come in. And this poet I thought was a fantastic choice. Again, it does get a little bit too convoluted and maybe a little bit poetic in a sense where you can read into the dialogue and take it how you want to. But yeah, I think the third act can get a little bit messy. But, you know, now I sound like a hypocrite because I think people just do really like nitpick this episode. But, you know, will I give it 8.5? I do stand by my rating.
Yeah, I stand by my 8.
I think the third act can get a little bit like nonsensical, but the emotion is there. And again, knowing that Ncuti has now left and departed, it did seem like an episode that he really wanted to do. And I, for one, am very glad that he got it.
Definitely. I couldn't have said it better myself there, Connor.
Well, that's my job. That's what I do.
Shall we jump forward to a undisclosed time period?
Where are we going, Aiden?
The 803rd or 7th?
803rd, I think.
Third Interstellar Song Contest.
Yeah, boom.
Whoa. This episode, I gave a 6 and you gave a 5. I think in terms of episodes that don't date well, for me, this episode is one that has been hurt the most by the finale. Because now that Ncuti is gone, I just think the characterization and the mischaracterization of the Doctor for me is just a terrible bit of writing at the end of the day. Like, there is interesting bits of writing in there and interesting things to say. And I understand people, I think I understand more the politics of, in your unlucky day, I was saying I don't really agree with that other angle.
You can see where people are coming from.
I can see with Interstellar why people are so angry about it.
Yeah, people got fucking pissed.
Yeah. And once again, like, I don't think that's what they were going for. I just think that's something that perhaps indirectly they have awoken.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'm probably not the right person to talk on that stuff. So beyond that, I just think it's like, it starts really fun for like 5-10 minutes. It does. And like everyone gets thrown out into space and I love the visuals there. But then like, I just get so bored for the last 35 minutes because I get bored and then frustrated because you get the most expensive and a really interesting concept, the most expensive episode of Doctor Who of all time. And they're just in like these hallways having
Can you really tell though?
Really ordinary chats. Like I don't really buy into any of it. The characters, you said you seen that Juno had said that she didn't know who the companion was going to be when she wrote it. And
ridiculous. And I do feel for her for that. 100%.
One of the biggest mistakes is that there is nurse characters in the episode after 2 episodes of essentially Belinda Light to then have her in this episode. And I think her character is written off throughout the whole episode. Like, yeah, she's not the same strong.
Don't know what to do with her,
Belinda. You know? And, but then, yeah, you don't know what to do with her because they've given her role of being the nurse. She could have had such a big role of bringing people back to life. It would be very powerful, but they give it to a side character. It would make sense for Belinda to have that role. And yeah, I just think it's the Doctor stuff then frustrates me because we have no explanation as to why he was so angry. The Susan stuff is what brought the Doctor back. And it was just a a random memory or a random thought. He was, and I understand, like, because you can so easily say that, but if you were dying, would you not think of your grandchildren or loved ones?
Yeah.
100%. But how many times is the Doctor at that point and it's not his loved ones? He's never, in the last 62 years of the show, he's never once gone, Susan, and that's what's snapped him into gear. That's where this stuff feels out of place for me. And the same argument with Belinda, people will say, if you saw everyone die and you were on a space station, wouldn't you be crying? Yes, perhaps I would be. But the fact is, we've seen Belinda confronted with some big scares. She's been on alien worlds where there's wars and people being shot and dying in the Robot Revolution, and The Well is...
She faced a cartoon.
The Well is like a haunting episode. She doesn't respond like that in those episodes. So it is... And yeah, I just think there's a lot of mischaracterization through this whole script. I think it's a poor script. And it's, I think, really well-directed episode, but a very poorly written script.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
I regret giving it a 5.
Yeah.
I think that's too high. I'm not vibing this episode in hindsight, and yeah, particularly after the final, given it the whole like Eurovision themed episode. I don't watch Eurovision. I don't even know how it works really. There's always drama behind it, which I was just not looking forward to the reception from this episode. I just didn't want to get into it. It's like every week it seems like there's something. And yeah, given the way the Doctor is in this episode, I think it is just incredibly out of character. They had no idea what they were doing with Ncuti's Doctor. He's funny and charismatic and kind and cheerful in most of the scenes, and then he snaps and he is torturing someone, which is just, you know, the Doctor, like David Tennant's Doctor, was always the second chance. You know, I'll always give you a second chance. You know, always trying to be the better of humanity, and even Peter Capaldi's speech in Dr. Fools, because it's kind, you know. I do because it's right.
Yeah.
Not because it's easy. It never works because it hardly ever does, you know. It's like, I can't get behind it. I found myself incredibly bored throughout the episode, was just interested to get to Wishworld and Reality War. The Susan stuff didn't really shock me. It was more just like confusion as to why she was there, similar to Fugitive. And I found myself bored. The only scenes I really found myself enjoying was when the Doctor was with that gay couple. I thought that was fun. But again, completely seconding what you say, when it's like just confusing when Belinda is a nurse and then they were doing that role. Incredibly convenient script. And it's weird because like when it ends, like, so Belinda's just seen the Doctor like torture someone, which is incredibly out of character. And then they're walking back to the TARDIS and they're like hugging and they're smiling. It's
terrible.
And I saw Russell the other day like defending that scene. It's like, it's my favorite piece of acting from Ncuti. Like, you can tell that he loves her, and I'm kind of just sat there going like, where's the Kill the Moon ending scene? You know, where it's like
consequences, conflict.
Like, get me the fuck home. I don't want to be around you. I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know what this is.
Oh yeah, imagine if we went into the finale with that, like Belinda being
How
like,
cool
no,
would that
like
have been?
I was actually starting to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And you've just done this.
Yeah,
I want to go home. That would be so good.
Characterization in the pan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Have me like this. Good night, Connor.
Good night, Connor.
That was me watching it. I was like, this shit sucks.
So you were talking about, well, the mischaracterization of the Doctor and how David's Doctor wasn't like that. I think the most common argument is that David had, you know, the moment killing the Racnoss' children, and there is moments where the Doctor goes too far, and that's totally okay. And I do love that this is for an alien, he's a very human character and sometimes does take things too far. Very easy to do that. But I think this episode goes one step too far with that. Like, you don't, whilst the Doctor is killing the Racnoss' children, he's not like physically assaulting them. Do you know what I mean? Whereas
you can see on his face as well that he is like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. There's something about the Doctor literally, and I know he's not using his fists, but he's one step away from that, beating the shit out of this kid called Kid.
Yeah, literally called Kid.
He's beating the shit out of this troubled guy. And I just think I don't ever see the Doctor doing that. Especially there was a whole argument about not giving the Doctor a gun, but it's all right. He can beat the shit out of this guy.
But also he uses the Vindicator to shoot Omega at the end.
Yeah.
One other thing, so just on top of your point there about Runaway Bride with that scene, the Doctor in the previous episode lost Rose, which was his world. And he is like, he is the classic male who has gone through trauma and is taking it out on the world. And he learns through Donna that he's gone too far. And that's the whole point of the final scene, is like, you need to find someone to stop you because I think you go too far sometimes.
Which again, it's okay to have the Doctor go too far, but let there be consequences for it. Have that conversation at the end of the episode.
With this, it's just a number of 3 trillion.
Yes.
And it's just a number. And that's just what you're told. And it's like...
Well, it's not. I don't really care about that. I'm talking about the assault bit.
Well, that's why he's doing it, though, is because he was attempting to kill the 3 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just a number that is a ridiculous number that you can't even comprehend in your head. Because I know some people who defend that scene like, but he was going to kill 3 trillion people. Of course the Doctor's going to be angry. But it's just such a silly number. It's like, 3 trillion? What? That's just so dumb. And it's just, I don't like it.
3's the magic number.
Very silly.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Shall we jump to a different reality, Connor?
May the 24th?
Yes.
2025.
In a little world that we call Wish World.
Boom.
Boom.
3 big booms.
Part 1 of the finale. You and I both snapped, giving it a 6.5. I think that's fair. I agree with that because there's some interesting there's interesting premises, some fun scenes. At the end of the day, I don't think they explored these versions of the characters as well as they could have. And I think it is obviously slightly tainted about what the episode becomes in part 2.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm happy with 6.5. I really don't have anything more to say than that.
Well, I will say this. I mean, you stood by the idea that you like Legend of Ruby Sunday more
than this episode? Yeah, I think
you said that in the episode. You were just saying that you enjoyed it more, like as
Did I?
story-wise. Well, I was just going to say like a
because there's character moments in Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Yeah.
And there's not in Wish World. Yeah, that's the big difference.
My counter argument was just going to be, just to keep the podcast interesting, was that I would say that I actually enjoyed Wish World more than Legend of Ruby Sunday. I'm not sure if my scores would match up with
Here
that.
comes the second fight between Aiden and Connor.
What is this, the season 6 rankings?
Actually, your scores don't add up with that because you gave Legend of Ruby Sunday 7.75 and Wish World a 6.5.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I enjoyed Legend of Ruby Sunday. Oh, no, I didn't.
You said you enjoy Wish World more.
Forget what Aiden said.
You're just trying to create drama.
No one cares what Aiden says, whatever. Excel my ass. Look, I would say this now in hindsight. I would say I actually did enjoy this episode more, but those 2 episodes are so similar where it's like 75% of it's just build up to a reveal, which was already very obvious. With Omega, I saw that coming from a mile away. And then with Sutekh, also, we saw it coming from a mile away. But I think the whole idea of the Wish World kept me a bit more intrigued than it did with Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's one of those things where the plot of Wish World is way more interesting than the plot of Legend of Ruby Sunday, but the character moments in the Legend of Ruby Sunday are far superior than the character moments in Wish World. And that's the dividing thing. But I did give Wish World my scores don't work. I gave Wish World a 6.5 and Legend of Ruby Sunday a 6.
To defend my Excel shame,
yes,
I would say that at least with Legend of Ruby Sunday, I think the reason why I was being a bit more easy on it was because, you know, it was the end and I was like, we've still got another season to go. Like, I was more hopeful.
Another episode, yeah.
Well, no, just with I knew that season 2 was going to come out. So I think by the time we got to the season 2 final,
sorry, I thought we were talking about Wish World. Right.
I had a lot less of a I had more of a backbone for standing up for shit when I saw it.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like we have gone through this era convincing ourselves that it will make sense. And we're almost being like, oh, it has to be this TV show theory. That's why this doesn't make sense. Whereas at the end of the day, it's like none of that. We made so many ideas up to explain things that didn't work, plots that weren't working.
The show's bad on purpose.
But at the end of the day, the show's getting cancelled on purpose.
On purpose? That would be so clever.
But at the end of the day, it's like, no, it was just, there's just been little bad things throughout this era.
And I guess Rogue is just there to be there.
That frustrates me so much. Cut the scene if you're not going to reunite them in the finale.
I just feel like it was just, they just were just glad to have someone as big as like Jono Groff, and I think they were like, it'd be sacrilege to cut the Jonathan Groff scene. He's such a huge Broadway actor.
But it would make so much more sense.
Have you seen Hamilton? I haven't actually.
I have. He's very good.
Great.
Very good. Okay, so then let's do it. I don't want to talk about this for too long because it's just so negative.
Detonate the reality bomb!
I love that soundbite.
Let's jump ahead to let's jump ahead to the reality bomb. Nope, the reality war.
The reality bomb.
Let's jump ahead to the reality war.
Say the word again, otherwise.
Don't do it, Connor. Don't do it. This episode, I'm so desensitized to now. There is some fun moments. The doctor going on the Rani's hover scooter, e-scooter. The doctor on the Rani's e-scooter gives like the shard. Didn't you hear the word anti-grav? That visually it just gives that. And so I think it's kind of fun. Like the music's blasting. I wrote this in the
anti-grav Olympics. I came last.
There is definitely some good scenes in there. I think Ruby's really good in the episode in both parts. I think she's really good. And the stuff with her and Conrad is the most interesting out of it, I believe. But the way it just turns into once again, 30 minutes of just talking at you and stuff you don't care about. Like, it just never felt like we had to get the Poppy stuff we just don't give a shit about. Mm. But the most frustrating thing is that they sidelined Belinda for the whole episode, which I think is really disgraceful.
Throw her in a box.
To Belinda and to Verada.
Did you see she only posted like a couple of days ago about...
Yeah, but I don't think too much about that.
I would think a lot about that.
Why?
Because she's pissed off.
I don't think she's pissed off. I reckon she'd be more sad that the finale was so badly received, if anything.
Sad and pissed off, they can't have the same emotion.
But why would she be not pissed off about anyway, it doesn't matter. I try not to think too much into that social stuff because it's like gossipy.
That's why I always bring it up, because I know you love to not talk about it.
You love your gossip,
I'm
mate.
such a good co-host because I know what irks Aiden.
Just
look at that
shit.
Gossip.
Shit fucking Doctor Explodes. Just shit.
Can you talk about it for me?
It's just shit.
Yeah, it just sucks.
It just falls apart completely.
I don't know where this goat rider, like this guy who inspired me so much and got me into the idea of like writers and directors and character beats and storylines. This true idol to me, Russell. You know,
has the man never heard of structure and pace? Well, he has, because all of his stuff in the past has excellent structure and pace.
I don't know. It's so. And I just don't think we ever will know. And that's why I try not to wonder about it too much, because I just don't think we will. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it's ego or if like it worked so well in the past. I just thought they would instantly have a hit on their hands. I really don't know. And I think it's just sad, end of the day. I mean, this regeneration is sad for another reason. You know, it's because it was just the wasted potential.
So much wasted potential. It sucks.
Did you see that thing? It was like just over a year ago. They had all the New York City like subways. They had all the promotion on.
That's crazy, man.
It is.
That's crazy. And the fact that he was the Doctor from November 2023 to, was it like the 1st of June or something? Mm-hmm. 2025?
Yeah.
18 months. Mm. He was the Doctor for 18 months.
Yeah.
He's truly like the Colin Baker of this era of Who. Yeah. It's insane.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah, we both gave it a 4, and I'm happy to leave that chat there because we've said our piece on it enough, I think.
I feel like I've said too much about it already. It's just sad. It's just depressing.
Yeah.
Sacked Russell T Davies.
I generally just think the best thing to do would just be to like wrap it up. If he was like, yeah, I'm just doing a few more episodes and then I'm passing it on to Tony Gilroy.
Tony Gilroy is not going to do it.
Anything you want to say?
That
shit ain't going to flow onto my boat, Russell.
Maybe if the War Between's good, we can palm it off to Pete. Pete, fix this. Okay, so 2 things left to do. At the very end of the show, we're going to reveal what our final season score is. And now this is the best thing about the way we do this system, okay? We are not jaded by the finale. We are not going to have the finale impact our scores because we're using the scores that we have already given week in, week out for the episodes to then make an average of what it is. Because now it's like if we were to give season 2 a score, I feel like we'd give it like a 5 or some shit like that. Whereas realistically, there is a solid run. My spreadsheet has colors for like episodes that are, we've given it a score past 7, it goes green, and then from like 6.5 to 5.5, it's like a yellow, and then 5
piss yellow?
down, it's red. Piss yellow.
Yeah.
It's piss yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, piss.
Kelly sheets.
And there's a great little run of green in the middle of this. Like it's so consistent, which is great to see.
Green means go.
Green does mean go, as my mum says when she stops at traffic lights sometimes. And I'm like, why do you have to tell yourself that, Mum? Sometimes I'm like, are you asking me or telling me? But before we reveal what our average score is, I think it'd be really fun for us to go back to our predictions for this season.
Did you write them down?
I did. So not our predictions plot-wise, but our predictions of what we thought was going to be a good or bad episode.
Okay.
So here is our win and loss predictor of what we thought was going to be either a win, which was going to be a good episode, a draw we thought was going to be a mid-episode, or a loss, an episode that we thought was going to be a bad episode.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So the Robot Revolution, we both thought it would be a draw. I think I count this as a loss.
Yeah,
Revolution.
Put L.
Lux, we both thought would be a win. And I would count that as a win. Yeah? Yeah. The Well, we both predicted as a win. I would say it was a win, but a shit win. You know, like if like you're a cricket guy, I'm a footy guy.
I am a cricket guy.
Watching our teams play and they win, but you're like, oh, they weren't very good though. Like another team might have beaten us.
Ago,
That's sort of how I feel about the Well.
Yeah, I would put loss.
Loss? Not even a draw.
Loss.
Damn. Lucky Day I put as a draw. Really? I thought I was... Damn. My memory has just always been, I thought this episode was going to be amazing. I gave it a draw and you gave it a win.
Yes.
And I think we both think that this episode was a massive W.
Yeah.
So big win. Story in the Engine we both predicted was a dub, which I think stacks up. Interstellar Song Contest I put as a L and you put as a draw, which I think it's an L.
Yeah, I agree.
Wish World we both put as a draw, which I think, yeah. What the fuck was that?
I accidentally pressed the wrong button. Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Yeah, draw. And the Reality War, I gave an L and you gave a draw.
I was so optimistic.
You were.
I didn't want to be negative.
Yeah, you didn't have a single L prediction in there.
And I'm trying to be a nice guy.
The season overall prediction we had as W's, I would say it's a draw, but I think we played well up until the end. Do you get that? You get that vibe?
Yeah. It did seem too good to be true for a while.
It did. And we did have that with season 1, I remember. Like we had a few episodes early on, but we were like, this shit slaps.
Yeah, from the fortnight of Boom in 73, I was doing the worm.
Yeah, for sure. So it is like a massive shame that once again we find ourselves after a pretty solid run of episodes with a finale that has pissed us off so much.
Even more embarrassing than Empire.
Yeah. It's pissed us off more than Empire.
Is that even possible?
That now we have to wait like 18 months, 2 years, or maybe just until the war between the land and the sea. We have to wait that long just stewing on it.
Just marinating it.
Yeah. And until we get that episode that's going to bring us back. Yeah, it sucks.
And that'll be the first episode with Billy Piper as the Doctor.
Hey, I'd love it if Billy's like 3-episode run was great, because it would be like, we'd all be wrong. Would
you be telling your friends again about it? I feel like I'm over that now. I can't tell people that Doctor Who's good now.
Yeah, it's because I feel like I've told them so many times and it's just simply not been.
Is it? Because you say that every time.
Connor, okay, so Connor, what do you predict your total score, your average score for season 2 will be?
It's going to be low. I'm going to say 5.6.
What do you predict mine will be?
6.9.
Okay. Really? You think I like it that much more than you?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Bit of a simp, aren't you?
Connor, you gave Joy to the World a 5, The Robot Revolution a 5, Lux a 9, The Well a 6.5, Lucky Day an 8.5, The Story of the Engine an 8.75, The Interstellar Song Contest a 5, Wish World a 6.5, and The Reality War a 4, with a total series score of 6.47.
Oh, wow.
My takeaway from your scores there is that the highs you gave really high. Like you gave an 8.5 and above 3 times.
Yeah.
But then you also gave a 5 and below 4 times.
Yeah, I stand by my scores.
Yeah. Yep. I gave George of the World a 6.5, The Robot Revolution a 5, Lux an 8, The Well an 8, Lucky Day an 8.5, The Story of the Engine an 8, the Interstellar Song Contest a 6, Wish World a 6.5, and The Reality War a 4, with a total series score of 6.7.
Oh, I was so close.
So yeah, quite close to you. And I stand by it because I love, there's episodes I love in this season. Like there's some in the middle that I just think is such a fun run.
Yeah. It was a good time.
And then we got to the end, which is always what we predicted, really. Like we did sort of say.
I was trying to be optimistic, but
yeah. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, that's the end of our season 2 coverage.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back with a classic review next week.
Oh,
are you ready to jump back into Classic Who, Connor?
What are you doing again?
I thought,
don't say it.
Maybe for a bit of fun, we should do the Mark of the Rani.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? It's a Colin story, I think.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 45-minute episodes. I think.
Season 21?
2.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because 22 and 23 is Colin.
Yes.
Okay, 23 is Trial of a Time Lord. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we will review Mark of the Rani next week.
I'll wait to see the viewers drop off like flies. Go back to like 100 views per episode.
So stick around and join us then for our last little month before we take a little month off. So a reminder, we will be taking July off from the pod and we'll be back in August, but you'll have us till the end of June. So hopefully we get a renewal announcement in June. That would be ideal. If not, Connor will have to cover it whilst I'm away.
Yeah, we'll hit the news button.
You want
here? Ready?
And I was having such a nice day.
Just blew my bloody eardrums out, mate. Thanks, guys.
The
sound bites are all different levels.
The soundboard levels are just like so cooked.
Yeah, it's something I'm better at now when I add them. But when I first made the first batch of sound bites, I didn't even think that they had to be the same level. I didn't even consider it. But now we have something like. That's my main problem with editing is especially when we do upgrade or delete because the yes is like yes and the scream is like and I'm like constantly having to turn shit down to make it consistent. It sucks. Anyways,
soundbites a gamble.
Thanks for watching. Love you so much.
A long ep.
It was a long episode, but it's the grand finale, I guess.
Grand finale.
Yeah,
all right, thanks, guys. Till next time.
Till the next time, gang. It's Aiden and Connor's podcast. We're doing Doctor Who reviews
on a Saturday.
Doing Doctor Who reviews.
Happy 5 years, boys and girls.
5 years of hell. It's crazy.
Hell, yeah.
In these 5 years, we've gone from feeling like Doctor Who's going to get cancelled to feel like Doctor Who's back again to then feel like Doctor Who's going to get cancelled again. Just a cycle.
What are you going to do, huh?
Cry. I haven't even ordered the season 2 steelbook.
Is it out to order yet?
Yeah, it's been out since before the season started, I think. Or like midway through the season, I think.
Did they reveal the back cover yet?
No, they still haven't.
Who do you think is going to be on it? That was such a big secret.
Maybe the Rani?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Ruby would have been a good fit.
That would be cool. Put like
Ruby and the 2 Ranis.
Yeah, maybe like a montage of like Ruby, Miss Flood, the Rani, Kate.
Yeah.
Something like that. Pete McTighe being like, I'm the GOAT. And Mr. Ring-a-Ding being like, I'm also the GOAT.
That is a lot on one back.
Make it work.
Okay.
Do you think Russell's ever cared about having too many characters?
No. Not at all. Not at all. Goodbye.
Love you. Ooh,
have you thought about...
Do I say that now? I say that now. That's my character.
I should tell Yaz.
I love her.